go big, little legs. Skinny kid with plenty.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? It's ZTAY, aka Lil Red, and we got the most confusing player in the NBA. It's about Jordan Poole, I'm assuming, and it is by the man DoubleDworth. Before we get into it, hit that like button if you guys enjoy these type of videos. Hit that subscribe button and go give this man a follow if you guys haven't already, which you probably have. So let's get into it.
Always ready to push. Poole falls down, turns.
Oh my God, there's no way.
Always ready to push. Poole falls down.
Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest here. I have no idea what this is, but I think that's okay because I don't think anybody knows what is happening here. But the one thing that is certain is that this is just a glimpse into how rough this season has been. Because right after a breakout season in his third year in the league, Jordan Poole signed a contract extension of 4 years, $128 million. But now, the year before that contract goes into effect, he is having a noticeably worse season to the point where some fans say the Warriors should have never even given him that much money. So how did this happen? How do we get to a point where this contract extension, which was seen as a no-brainer to some fans, is now one that is being questioned not even a year later? Well, it starts with what happened last season. Because after his second year in the league, Jordan Poole was still trying to find his place on a Warriors team that was struggling to find their footing after so many injuries. And after a year in which he spent a considerable amount of time in the G League, he made it a point to work throughout the offseason to be able to provide the team with a consistent second scoring option while Klay Thompson recovered from injury. And coming into preseason, it was already
how
clear
old
that
is
that's
Jordan
what he was going
Poole?
to be, and we would see it come to fruition throughout the season. But the real jump would happen toward the end of the season, where Stephen Curry would go down with a leg injury and Poole would be inserted back into the starting lineup. And he would average 26 points over the rest of the regular season and 21 points in the first round of the playoffs, where he would continue starting as Steph worked his way back into his normal rotation. And after that, he would be sent back to the bench unit and help the Warriors win the 2022 championship. And later that offseason, the Warriors would end up signing him to a contract extension worth 4 years, $128 million. And then it happens. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this, but just from watching the games, it definitely seems as though this incident might still be in their minds when they're on the court together, which we will talk about later. But from this point on, nothing seemed to be the same. Of course, they've had their moments of looking like the championship contending team from last season, but on most nights,
They're only at home,
completely
though.
lost and out of sorts. And a lot of that blame has been put on Jordan Poole, as he was supposed to be responsible for bridging the gap between the Warriors' two timelines.
This is how I feel about it. Is Jordan Poole actually having a bad year, or were the expectations just too high for him because of that max contract? Because I don't even think he's playing that bad. I feel like sometimes he's the scapegoat and the Warriors want to put the blame on him because he got that contract. But we'll see if he's... I already know he's going to bring up some stats, so we'll see this year. Because I honestly don't even know the difference from last year to this year. I definitely feel like there is a little drop-off, but we'll see.
Because the way they attempted to build a team meant that they would have a starting lineup with the veteran players and a bench full of younger talent to help provide a spark. Hasn't worked out so far, to say the least. And a lot of their struggles so far this season have been attributed to three main things: bad defense, bad decision making, and offensive production outside of the starting lineup. All three of which Jordan can be directly responsible for.
But is Jordan Poole... Look, this is the thing, bro. He's young. I don't know how old he is. If you give a young player that type of money over Draymond Green, who's been there for a long time, been, you know, a reason for those championships, I feel like it's going to go to his head, and I don't think he thinks he's a bench player no more, so maybe that's why. I don't know.
Let's start with the defense, because although he's not expected to be a great defender, some of these plays have been laughable. Between just falling asleep on cuts, being slow to contest a shot, or just looking like he's given up. But there are also statistics
confused,
to back
bro.
this up, because he's been involved in 15 different lineups that have played 50 or more possessions together. And the only one you can really say is great is a 5-man lineup of Jordan Poole, Dante DiVincenzo, Klay Thompson, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green. A lineup with him surrounded by probably the 4 best defenders on the team. So it makes sense why that lineup is so great on defense. But it's not because of him. But in the same way that I can't necessarily give him credit for that lineup, I won't put the entire defensive struggle on him, because there are 4 other players on the floor contributing to that. But the 2 other factors, the bad decision making and the offensive production, he definitely carries a lot more blame for both of those. We'll start with the decision making, which is actually a multi-part issue on its own, mainly due to his turnovers and his shot selection. When it comes to the turnovers, he's been noticeably worse this season. He currently has the 3rd most turnovers in the entire league this
3rd most turnovers in the entire league as of March 11th. 219. 3rd to Trae Young and Anthony Edwards, who are both the primary option for their team, and Jordan Poole is not even the primary option. Thing was, though, Curry was out for a little bit, so he kind of was the primary. But that, 219 turnovers
this year compared to 24th last year, and a lot of these turnovers are ones that should have never even happened.
How much turnovers did he finish with last year? Somebody let me know,
because they seem as though they could have been prevented had he just slowed down a little bit on the play. They're unforced, the worst kind of turnover. To put it into perspective, out of his 219 total turnovers this year, 85 of those are from traveling, carrying, or just losing the ball.
How did you find that stat? That is yo, 219 turnovers and 85 of them are traveling what did he say? Traveling,
but in addition,
carrying, and what? Oh, I'm turning down the damn.
He's also, out of his 219 total turnovers this year, 85 of those are from traveling, carrying, or just losing the ball.
Oh my God, Poole. No, I'm not gonna lie, he has been doing this a lot. That whole slipping stuff, he's been slipping a lot. This move that he consistently spams, he always loses the ball here. But he did have that game where he got called for carry and traveled like 5 times.
But in addition to that, he's also had questionable shot selection on a lot of occasions throughout the year. And it's frustrating because he's currently shooting over 70% between 0 and 3 feet. And he's been very
70% 0 and 3 feet? Is that what he said?
Currently shooting over 70% between 0 and 3 feet.
Alright, that's good.
And he's been very effective going downhill more often than not.
Okay.
But there are times where he just insists on shooting tough step back threes, despite him not being the shooter that he was last season. One of these shots being so bad that Stephen Curry would end up getting so frustrated that he actually got himself ejected in the process after throwing his mouthpiece into the stands. But this isn't the only time that this decision making has pissed off other players on the team. All 3 members of the Warriors' Big 3 have their own moment with Jordan Poole this season. Steph Curry has the play that I just talked about.
Yeah, but Klay Thompson takes some stupid shots too. But I guess the argument you could say is Klay's been there. He's a veteran kinda, so you know Poole can't be doing that because he's young. But you know, that max contract kind of inflated his ego. He thought that gave him the green light to take these shots.
Klay Thompson has this play in the clutch at the end of a game
that's
where
slip.
He loses his balance for no clear reason and turns the ball over.
Yeah,
lost ball turnover,
sad,
by the way. And Draymond Green has this play where Jordan refuses to pass him the ball in the post, and he responds by just not playing it. But I
oh my God, the Warriors are funny, bro.
Is definitely more.
But like, Giddy's right there though. That's on Draymond, bro. That's on Draymond, because everybody's talking about how Jordan Poole turns the ball over too much, so now he's being careful, and then they get mad at him. I think all eyes are just on Jordan Poole, because Jordan Poole's my favorite player on the Warriors, so I'm going to defend him. All eyes are on him. He's the scapegoat, definitely, because he got that contract, so, you know, if he makes any type of mistake, it's going to be elevated.
More of a Draymond problem than a Poole one. And it could also be a lingering side effect of what happened in practice before the start of the season. But the point still stands. Multiple other players on the team have had their moments being frustrated with some of his decision making. But if they weren't frustrated with that, they were definitely frustrated with the level of offensive production from the bench. And that's our last key factor. Because when Jordan Poole was put back on the bench at the start of the season, he was expected to be a primary scorer and a facilitator that would run the offense while the starters sat, and this was expected to be absolutely unbeatable. You run into, statistically, the best starting lineup in the NBA, and then you have Jordan Poole coming off of that breakout season, coming off the bench.
Yeah.
It was expected to be a cakewalk, but clearly, it has been anything but, because although the bench has picked up their level of play in recent months, towards the start of the season, they were historically bad, with Poole of course being at the center of it, because in about the first month and a half of the season, the Warriors played 23 games. Jordan Poole came off the bench for 19 of those games, and started 4 of them.
Alright, so first 23 games, he came off the bench 19 and then started 4.
And during that time, he averaged just 16 points per game. But then
16
things changed
to start the season.
because after multiple injuries to key starters, he was put back into the starting lineup over the next month. And during that time, he averaged 26 points per game. And this has been a...
This is the thing about Jordan Poole. It's the same thing about Russell Westbrook. These type of players need something in order for them to be activated. And for Jordan Poole, he needs to feel like he's him. He needs to feel like he's that guy. Otherwise, he's not going to play good. And that's the issue, because they have that guy right here sitting on the bench. So this is the thing for Jordan Poole. He needs to feel like he's that guy in order for him to get his confidence and start playing better. And then when he has bad turnovers, he feels like he's not that guy and he plays worse. He comes off the bench, he feels like he's not that guy, he's going to play worse. It's the same thing with Russell Westbrook shooting threes. You know, as soon as he starts making them and the crowd's cheering for him, he starts hitting them more because he feels confident. But as soon as he misses one and he hears that crowd, you know, it's the same thing. Jordan Poole needs to feel like he's him, but that's his issue. Jordan Poole, you're not him yet. All right.
Conversation.
He doesn't want to be a role player.
Level of play as a starter.
He's already put in his head. He's not a role player.
These two versions of Jordan Poole.
See, Jordan Poole has put in his head he is not a role player. 14 points a game on the bench with 4 assists. Oh my goodness. Jordan Poole I'm telling you, he needs to think in his head in order for his skills to be activated, in order for his takeover to start. He needs to feel like he is the starter and he is the man on that team beside Stephen Curry. And if he doesn't and he feels like, hey, you're just the 6th man, you're like a Jamal Crawford, that's all we need from you. He doesn't know how to do that. He don't know how to do that. Okay, that's what I see.
Drastically different.
That's horrible. It's 10-point difference.
Amount of minutes, and there's really no definitive reason why, but that is kind of a positive thing because it shows that the player the Warriors expected when they signed him to that extension is still there. It's just that he only shows himself in specific circumstances, and that's a problem that he also had last season. But his upside was enough to mask how inconsistent he was at times.
See? That's another difference. Warriors fans, you guys need to hear that. Okay? He just said the same things were happening last season, but the potential was the reason you guys looked past it. The same thing's happening this season, but since he got the contract, now you guys don't give him that, leeway. You don't give him that extra, like, okay, it's okay, he's got potential. Now you're like, no, you need to be this now. Now we have expectations of you, which is obviously just a part of being a fan of a team, but he's the same player. You can't really get mad at him that much. He just, now, I don't know. I feel like you just got to take the training wheels off Jordan Poole and let him fly, bro.
This season,
and live with the mistakes he makes.
That same luxury, and that's where the issue is.
Because it's either gonna be he only scores 14 off the bench. Poole, we need more from you. And then when he tries to do the more and he makes mistakes because he's a young player and he slips that game deciding turnover, and you guys hate him. Which Poole do you want? You want the one in the middle, right? But let's be realistic. He's a young player. It's probably not gonna happen yet. One day it might happen. But I don't know, bro. I like Jordan Poole. I remember just 2 years ago, he was just a role player, an average player. Warriors fans weren't even talking about him. So the fact that people are making videos about him now, all the attention's on him, people using him as a scapegoat, shows how much he's improved. Warriors embrace him, bro. If you think about it, your best player right now, Stephen Curry. Do you remember? Most of you guys probably don't, because maybe some of the people that are Warriors fans probably don't even remember watching. But I remember watching Stephen Curry against the Nuggets in the playoffs, right? You know, their first playoff run. Before that, before those years, Stephen Curry wasn't who he is now. He used to take stupid shots he used to miss, and people were like, why does he take those type of shots? He'd stay getting injured. So give Poole some patience, man. Give Poole some patience. I know you guys want to say there's going to be no Stephen Curry ever, but like, come on now.
Because now they need him to be that player more than ever. And he's simply not living up to the expectations that people have for him on most nights. And like I said before, there are still those games where he shows us the player that he can be. But there are also moments where he still looks like that player that just came back up from the G League. If the Warriors are going to turn the season around, which who knows if they even can do that at this point, but if they want to do that, then Jordan Poole needs to at least be a more consistent option. He doesn't even necessarily need to do that much.
Facts.
Just be more consistent.
Yes,
because it's that inconsistency on a game-to-game basis that really hurts, as told by this anonymous Western Conference staffer. Because even they can see that Jordan Poole is possibly the most confusing player in the NBA. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell to be notified when I upload. Comment down below what you want to.
That's one thing about Jordan Poole. He's not a player you bet on. Don't bet on Jordan Poole because he's not consistent. He just needs to upgrade his consistency. But the thing is, he's a young player. Young players don't have that consistency yet. It's rare. And if they do have consistency, most of the time they're a role player. But then you can say Luka and Trae Young, but they're like a number one option. And that is Stephen Curry. So I feel like he might be, he's the most confusing player in the NBA. I agree. But he's also in the most confusing situation in the NBA. I don't know. What do you guys think about this, man? Let me know down below in the comments. This is ZTAY.